You're listening to Barbell Logic,
the podcast where we talk about what it means to experience strength
and how you can use simple, hard, and effective strategies in training and nutrition to improve your life.
It starts with meeting you where you are right now and finding lasting solutions.
Welcome to the show.
Andrew Jackson.
What's
Hey,
up? How you doing, Niki?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great.
How's life been since our last recording, which was in February? I remember we were sitting in Utah and it was snow everywhere and it was pretty gorgeous. Things are different now.
We're now in summer, which is one thing. The other thing is I think I officially have a teenager now.
What revealed that teenagerdom?
Well, so technically we'll be a teenager in about 2 weeks. July 15th. But the thing that I think pushed me over the line is that we were texting the other day and out of nowhere she says, Dad, want to hear a quote? I'm reading this off my phone. I'm like, sure, what's up? She says, don't feel the pain. Make the pain feel how effing strong you are. And all I got was asterisks over the U, everything else spelled out. And so that was the moment where I was like, okay,
oh man,
we have exited adolescence. We are now into full-blown teenage daughter. I feel like I'm like texting with my buddies now, apparently.
Oh, that's so weird. So weird because she was just a little kid like last week.
Yeah. I mean,
I say little kid. She's also like 5 foot,
sprouted a
7,
foot,
and her feet are bigger than mine.
Yes, has grown tremendously and now sends me quotes like that. So
I'm sure the GIF back and forths will be pretty great too. That was a really important part of building out TKC was, okay, how soon can we get GIFs implemented into our feedback buttons?
Absolutely. I think it was actually the second feature we released after we went live. It was just absolute meltdown, pandemonium that we didn't have a GIF button.
Yeah.
Second most debated topic was probably whether to pronounce GIF or GIF, but I don't know which camp you fall in there. But
GIF. I have no idea which one's correct. But
I don't either.
Well, congratulations on having a teenager. That is pretty big.
Yeah. I'm hoping it is not as painful as everybody says it's going to be, but I don't know. Any advice there?
Man, just get ready for a lot of emotions that don't seem to make sense. And for girls, just being really mean to each other. Yeah, which is too bad. And probably lots of different new clothes, I think. Yeah. I imagine going into teenager wardrobe will be a little bit different, but I don't know. We'll see. Your daughter is herself, so I'd say just ready for the emotion wave.
Roll with the punches, I guess.
Yeah. So, you want to ask me how I've been since we were last recording? Okay.
I'm still getting used to this whole co-host thing.
Well, it's been like, I'll go ahead and answer my own question. Work's been really fun. And I've had some crazy life stuff with my family. I think it was in a span of 2 months. My dog got sick, or I think he got sick, and I think he has like lung cancer or a lung tumor, which was horrifying. And then my mom went to the hospital like all of a sudden, and she was in there for several days. And we thought like we lost our mom as we knew her. She's doing so much better now. And now my dad's in the hospital. And like we've just always been a super healthy family. Like nothing much goes wrong at all. So it's been like a really interesting several weeks where it's like, oh my gosh, like hospitals are awful. I was staying with my mom, like staying overnight and seeing what that's like, and just hitting that life stage where, you have a teenager and now I have parents who I'm like all of a sudden super nervous about. It's like a really interesting life stage that we're in where it's like hitting our stride, feeling good. Yeah. Having, financial stability, and then boom, like really big life changes for people who are, I'm like really close to. I'm just like, what's going to happen now?
Yeah.
So that kind of coincided with, I was doing a lot of research with our clients. Being the chief experience officer, I really wanted to figure out like, what do people like about us? I want to know where to find more of them, like what's important to them. And I learned that like the resounding importance was I want to live well. I want to be strong as I age. I want to be able to hang out with my kids. It was not like, I want to squat 315. No one said, I do this so I can squat 315. And I listened to hundreds and hundreds of people, and that wasn't said. It was like, I want to have a good life. And I was like, hell yes, I do too. That sounds awesome. So interestingly, that kind of planted the seed again for wanting to bring the podcast back, and kind of leads into the name we decided to give it. We're calling it Beast Over Burden, as you listeners know now. And that's because I don't think my parents did anything wrong. Like they had some really interesting health issues. But I also just know, and I know a lot of you listeners are on the same page with me, that when you get older, like I don't want to be a burden. I really don't. Like, I don't want someone to have to come and take care of me all the time. I don't want to be a burden to, my man. I want to just have fun with my family and fun with my friends. And if I am just a vegetable who can't leave the hospital, like I am ready, just like send me out of a plane, drop me into the ocean. So I want to be a beast. I want to be like 60 years old, rocking hot pink bikinis. And I want to have fun for like as long as I can. And anyway, I want to be a beast, not a burden. And I want training to not be a huge burden also. And I think that's really important.
And to not be a vegetable, which is always sparks the image in my mind of Michael Jackson, his line saying, "I'm a vegetable."
I forgot that was a line of his.
Wonderful song. Anyways, yeah. I think that might have to be the cold open.
Yeah, and here we are. Welcome to the Barbell Logic podcast. You're listening to Beast Over Burden, brought to you by Barbell Logic Online Coaching. I'm your host, Niki Sims. This is your fellow host now, co-host, Andrew Jackson.
Hello.
Welcome, Andrew. You're stuck with us now. Yeah. Matt's going to pop on from time to time. He's leading another podcast focused on a separate feed. He's going to be talking about coaching success. Really excited for that one too, for everybody who's ready to.
It's the same feed though, right?
Yeah, sorry. Same
feed, different day.
We come out on Tuesdays. Matt is coming out with his episodes on Fridays. Yeah. So coaches who are ready to like, not just like scrape to survive and charge their clients $35 a session or $25 a month to just like work, 80 hours a week. Like this is for coaches who want to have a thriving business and aren't going to be martyrs anymore. Anyway. So, Andrew, what do you want to talk about today?
Well, I think a topic that has been on a lot of our clients' minds, or at least that's how I perceive it. I'll put it on their minds for them. They might not say it this way, but it's on our minds as well, as both lifters and coaches. I think that we've talked a lot about MED as a method for programming, especially transitioning from novice programming into intermediate programming, but also even continuing to structure in a logical way progressive overload in general. And at the same time, I think we've all experienced as clients and lifters and as coaches, we've experienced from how our clients give us feedback that sometimes MED needs something a little bit different, or at least it seems like it needs something a little bit different. And we wanted to kick around that idea about what to do when MED is not working for you. Does that seem fair?
Oh, yeah, big time. Like, I know I've been a victim to MED burnout. I know as a coach, I have to be careful because like MED, minimum effective dose programming, makes it really easy for you to go copy and paste, increase something. And so since you're only increasing one small variable, which could be the number of reps that you're hitting, it could be the weight, could be like the frequency, it's really easy to just add more weight on some schedule. It could be session to session, week to week, month to month. But the idea is that you're constantly making something more stressful. That's the idea. And I think all of a sudden, everything gets more stressful and you're doing the same thing. Even as the coach, you're just writing the same thing. And it's really nice because you're like, yeah, this is working. It's working. You can see the PRs. They're still training until what I think you've noticed is we get like long DM or they just stop training. And we're like, oh, what's going on? I thought we were on MED paradise together.
Right. Yeah, because what it looks like from a coach's perspective and what it feels like from a client's perspective are not always visually or easily recognizable as being the same, And I've even watched my own videos as a client, meaning my own lifts, and afterwards look at it and from my coach's eye think, yeah, add
Looks
5 more
great.
pounds.
Add 5 more pounds.
But in the moment as a lifter, I was thinking, if he adds another 5 pounds, I'm going to kill him.
Yeah.
Like, this is all out max effort for me at this time in my life with everything else that I've got going on. And
on heavy barbell lifts. We're not talking about lat pull downs. We're talking about heavy ass stuff. Yeah.
Right. So, I think that what changes over the course of a lifter's life is that your proximity to your genetic potential is much closer. You're much closer as you've been lifting longer to your genetic potential. And therefore, by definition, day-to-day fluctuations have a much more noticeable effect. And when I say fluctuations, I'm talking about biological fluctuations, psychological fluctuations, social kind of energetic, emotional fluctuations.
Like the Mercury in retrograde kind of thing? Is that what you're talking about?
I should even say astronomical or astrological, maybe more accurately, fluctuations. It could be that, Saturn's in retrograde or whatever the case may be.
Uranus is really hanging
Uranus
low.
may have just really gotten right up in there, and especially if you're doing box squats. Like I can remember doing box squats to a log while traveling, and I was in the forest and I had to just find something that it was supposed to be a box. So I picked a log, and that log was as close to Uranus as it could be. And sometimes those stresses just like pressurize, and jokes aside, you feel those things more. Your dad's in the hospital, your mom's in the hospital, your kid's a teenager. Things we were kind of started out talking about at this phase of life start to play enough of a role, or I should say it's a combination of those stresses becoming significant enough and your proximity to your genetic potential becomes close enough that it's sometimes, even if the bar speed's moving well, you theoretically could add 5 pounds. It's starting to push you into that redlining kind of state where you're having to summon demons to get through it.
Yeah.
And that is not always sustainable.
There are only so many Nine Inch Nails songs. You run out.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I do pursue and support adding more weight to the bar over time. Yes.
Absolutely. That's always the goal.
But as I've experienced, is there becomes time where it just isn't worth it. Like you said, you're getting closer to that limit. And when things are so stressful elsewhere, you become more sensitive to old injuries. Like deadlifting twice a week used to be what you needed to improve your deadlift. And now deadlifting twice a week is almost 2 times too many. So it
at
has
RPE
to,
910,
right?
For sure, right? With an absolute load that's probably also, if you've been lifting long enough, pushed into the several hundred pounds category. So you're not deadlifting heavy at 225 anymore, or 185, or you're probably lifting well over, well, depending on your size and your ability, several hundred pounds. Maybe
probably. Well, usually
300, 400, 500 pounds.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. Somewhere in that. Yeah, exactly. So how do you recognize the difference between it being something you need to push through and add the weight and see if it's actually failure or when it's time for something different. What's the difference between those two situations?
As a lifter or as a coach, do you think? Or
either. As a client, probably first.
Yeah. As a client, when you have to, like you said, really summon the demons when going to train becomes a battle that you stop knowing you're going to win. And it then becomes like this internal dialogue of, really, my coach programmed that again? Like, I can't go up and weight. I can't do that. And you lose the faith in yourself to make the reps. You don't have what you need to complete it based on like your motivation, or it's like too much. And so you stop feeling bought in to the training. And a lot of times you're wondering in your head, like, should I tell my coach about this? Oh no, my coach thinks I should do it. I really don't want to do it, but I feel like I need to do it. So I think when you start having this internal battle of doubt and you stop being sure that it's worth it, that's when like MED needs to start taking a different shape than just add more or something. I think if you understand MED fully, you know that a minimum effective dose is sometimes less of something.
That's right.
But I think it's really easy to get caught up in the more. The more is better.
Yeah, and I think we've recorded a podcast on a similar subject before, and want to reiterate, as we did then, what we're not saying is MED is wrong or incorrect.
Right.
I still think that it's a extremely powerful concept and useful tool for programming, and certainly still how I think about how to manage my progressive overload. And it's enabled me to help program clients for years on end. What we're talking about here is, I think, the difference between the tactical implementation of session to session or week to week or month to month, like you said, and then how to think about MED or how to use MED within a strategic programming time frame. Long term, our goal here is to train consistently over a long period of time to improve our overall quality of life, not just to lift demonstrably an incrementally smaller amount of weight 2 sessions from now or 1 session from now. So that all being said, you hit on something that I think is really important as a red flag, is whether or not you feel bought into the program. If that voice of doubt starts creeping in that I don't believe that this is going to work, that's a huge red flag that I think anybody listening, if they have a coach, but certainly a coach at Barbell Logic, should be raising their hand, asking their coach, or at least telling their coach, bringing up that conversation with one caveat. If the client has never failed before, like never failed a single rep, got to keep going. Like, you have to know failure. So the context that I think we're both talking about here is somebody who's been doing this long enough that they truly understand what RPE 10 means, what it means to fail a rep, what it means to pull for 5 seconds and miss the rep, and is far enough along in their training that more is not always the right answer. Even that said, I would still encourage clients, just from a relationship and a communications perspective, to always bring those doubts up with your coach. But there are some criteria that I would say, if this is month 2 and your coach is saying you're 5 pounds and you're like, geez, that was really hard last session. Well, okay, you might want to put a little bit more weight on your coach's direction there. But like I said, sometimes the coach would watch that and they see the bar speed. It looks like you can add 5 pounds, but they have no idea that you just got laid off, or, you know,
or that you had to rest 10 minutes to do that set.
Or exactly. There's a lot of things, especially within the context of online coaching, that the coach can't see. So, you know, please, PSA to all of our clients out there, let your coach know what's going on outside the gym.
Yeah. And I think something else that came up for me is, or like saying that it's too much for me makes me wonder if, like, do I have to give up on my goals now? If I say that this is too much, I need something different. Like, I still want to hit that number. That's still important to me. I still want to compete. But if I tell my coach that I can't do this, does that mean I'm not going to get to do what I want to do? And that may be the case depending on what your goals are and depending on what you have in terms of your own resources to bring into the gym, like energy and recovery and strength. But often I don't think it means you're giving up on what's important to you. It means that, there are dozens of ways to get to this outcome, and you might just need to try a different one. And that's really useful for a coach to know.
Such a good point. And it's something that I constantly have to remind myself about, that a lot of my clients are concerned that they're letting me down or that they're failing.
Or that that means that they can't be strong anymore.
Right. Or that there's only this one path or this one trajectory, or that, when they've been doing the MED for long periods of time, it feels like, well, this is the way. This is the only way. And I lose sight sometimes as a coach, if I don't have that continuous communication going, that they don't know that there's a million ways that I could skin the cat.
Right.
We could be doing a totally different rep scheme, set and rep combination, fluctuation over days and weeks and months of time. But they're only seeing it from, and then, okay, I've got to show up and do this. I got to show up and do this. I got to show up and do this. And the onus is on me to make sure that they know. There's two things that I try to do with my coaching. One is I have a metric in every single workout that gives them an ability to tell me to rate their fatigue. And I intentionally choose it to be fatigue so that they have a means of telling me when they were at their limit, and not in a way in which they're saying, I can't do it, or I'm, don't do more or anything, but they have a way of communicating to me in sort of a somewhat subtle way that was all out effort. My clients tell me how long the workout takes, how difficult they perceive the workout, and their fatigue rating, which I coach my clients to think about it as how hard was the workout, and then, how much energy did they have after or during the workout. It's somewhat subjective, but the intention there is that sometimes you can work really hard, but you love it. You ever show up for a workout and you're like, hell yeah, this was awesome. I want to lift heavy. My fatigue is low. The difficulty was high, but give me more. And then there's other days where you're like, that was all out and my fatigue was maxed out.
And I don't want any more.
And I don't want any more. So that's my method as a coach for making sure that, and my clients don't always fill out the metrics every single time, but I want to make sure that they have some sort of mechanism for signaling to me, that's all I got right now. And that opens up a lot of those conversations sometimes where I'm like, hey, I noticed the fatigue has been creeping up. 9 times out of 10, it's 3 out of 5. And then it'll be 4, then it'll come back down to 3, and then it'll go 4, 5. Hey, I noticed it's 5. What's going on? And that's when you get the Dear Diary. It's just like,
yeah, which is great.
Yeah. And I love that. And
Same.
because it gives me an opportunity to then change my MED tactic within the bigger strategic picture. What are some of the ways that you change it?
Some of the ways that I change it would be adding different exercises, like making sure I know, like, do you hate any of these exercises? Because
yes,
we really don't have to do them. Like, we're very likely going to stick to the barbell, but you do not have to do box squats, or you don't. I mean, I hate the press. Like, at any opportunity that I have, I'm not going to press. I'll do some dumbbell presses. I'll do some landmine presses. I don't know.
Sad.
So yeah, change out. I know I still do it sometimes, but I'll change out the exercises.
Yep.
See if they want to hit a different frequency. If they have access to like a Globo gym, I'll be like, let's have like one barbell lift and then some time for you to go bro out, because we're still driving strength adaptation. We're still encouraging muscle growth, or at least muscle training stimulus. And we can just have you try something a little bit different. I also like to make sure I let them know, like, changing direction isn't forever. Like, we're just doing something a little bit different for this block, and that's cool. And sometimes it helps to talk about the reason behind certain lifts, like why we're doing a certain thing, and kind of checking in on, like, is this still important to you? Because they might have had a goal shift somewhere along the road too. That means, why would you be bought into a program that was laid out for a goal that's no longer relevant?
Totally.
So yeah, having conversation is super important. Changing exercises, changing locations, going to that Globo gym and just like knowing that you can still push hard when you're not using a barbell. And this is something I learned. I don't know if I've worked through this with a client before, but it came up for me that all of what I thought were my fun activities when I was going really hard at jiu-jitsu and going really hard with lifting, like I was not having actual like fun anymore. Like I was working just as hard at jiu-jitsu as I was with my lifting, and I was working just as hard with those activities as I was at my job. And so there was no realm where I was just like not giving a hoot. Who cares what the outcome is? Hoots everywhere. And like, so like there was no play.
Yeah.
And so someone might just be needing to have a place to like not track numbers, and that can really be useful. So
I think that should be a hashtag.
Which
Hoots
one?
Everywhere.
Hoots everywhere.
Or
Probably is at Hooters.
Hooters probably does own all the hoot related tags.
Give us a hoot.
If you're listening out there lifting and you're on Instagram or social media, start tagging Barbell Logic and Hooters.
Send
hoots. Send hoots. All the hoots. So how did you get your hoots back?
What did I start doing? I'm trying to remember at what phase of the last 2 years of crazy training this arose and what I did. You might even remember better than I can.
Well, it seems like your priorities have gradually shifted significantly from 1RM deadlift to
Yeah, sorry, just
Megan
to bring
Thee
you all up to speed.
Stallion booty.
Exactly. Just to let you all know, my main training purpose right now is to have a huge butt. I know, it's butt logic. The glutes, like the heart, is a muscle. It can be trained. It should be.
Yeah.
So yeah, training changed a little bit, mostly because I was just like, I kept running up against a wall with squatting and deadlifting, and it made training just super miserable and outside life just super miserable. But yeah, and then I think I started spin class. That was a big play space because you can't win at spin. It's just fun.
So it sounds like you recognized that lifting was no longer play and
Yeah.
the source of hoots, and looked outside the gym for hoots.
Yeah. Had to find my hoots somewhere else. Which I encourage you to do, because I think when we first get into lifting, it's like really fun. It's like,
Right.
Yeah, no matter what I do, I'm going to get a PR. It's great. And then it gets a little more serious. Yeah.
Well, I think that's a really good or an important aspect of being strategic about your training is being intentional about where you're having fun. And to your point, and I experienced this as well, initially lifting was both play and training. It was both the thing that I needed to do consistently to get strong over a long period of time and achieve those goals of improving my quality of life, more muscle mass, all these kinds of things. And it was also the thing that I would think about all day before going into the gym. I was visualizing it. I was getting fired up, and it was motivating to get going in the day and to eat right and to, sleep well. Like everything was kind of around optimizing the hour and a half, 2 hours in the gym because it was fun.
Totally.
And 10, 15 years, 20 years, well, I mean, if you go back, I mean, I've been training arguably and lifting since the 90s in some form or the other, but I have only been training for like 15 years in terms of barbell training. At some point, it shifted over to most of those days being more in the training bucket and more in the taking your medicine kind of bucket. And very rarely do I come into a workout feeling like I've got everything's coming into this part of my day as the fun part where I get to dump all my energy.
Right.
There's something draining me or consuming my attention or my energy, and those days still happen. It's occasionally like I'm fired up and I want to go rip some power cleans and have a fun session like that, but it made me realize, and kind of watching you go through it too, helped me realize that I wasn't intentional about play. I wasn't intentional about making sure there was something I was doing in my life where it was fun. Matt, for example, I notice is biking now and posting about riding his bike before work and riding his bike with his daughter. And it's like, you can see the smile on his face. This is intentional, fun part of the day.
Right.
Yes, there's physical benefits to it.
And of course, he's going to track the distance because he's gamification central.
Yeah, I'm sure he's got every mile tracked on his watch.
Yeah.
But
it's different. Like
it's different. Yeah, it's a different bucket. Yeah.
Playing doesn't mean you're getting judged. You're not trying to improve. It's you forget everything else that kind of is going on and you're just there. Mm-hmm. It's so much fun.
And that can still fit within your training. Like you continue to lift.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I, again, to our listeners who are clients or want to be our clients, we as coaches want our clients to be able to do those things, to have fun, to incorporate intentional play while still training, while still progressively overloading, while still using MED to get stronger.
Yeah, you need the muscle.
And incorporating things that are fun, that add value to your life outside the gym. Because what else are we doing this for?
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
We still have people also that are going to be competitive, all out, 1RM, focused. And there are seasons in life where that can come and go, but it doesn't have to always be that way. We certainly, as coaches, want our clients to know that we can modify training. And if you feel like you're in that MED rut, raise your hand, reach out to your coach. If your coach is shutting you down, reach out to Niki or Niki Berman and, ask for some help on how to talk to your coach, because there might be some just miscommunication kinds of a thing.
Yeah.
But I think that all of us, I know from talking to our coaches that we all think that what we're talking about is important, and we have the skills and ability to be flexible with our programming to keep training, keep progressively overloading, and also have fun or incorporate play outside the gym.
Sounds like a blasty. Can't wait to hoot all over that. All right, everybody. That was the first episode of Be Sober Burden. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this, please give us a review anywhere you're listening to your podcast. Share it with someone and come back for more. Andrew and I will be back next week. That's where you say bye, Andrew.
Bye-bye.